Solvitur Ambulando, The Adventures of Steve and Dixie by Stephen Breakstone, Episode 8, June 26, 1986, Thursday, northwest of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I called Mike's parents yesterday to find out about the happenings of Mike, Karen, and Drake. Checking in with Ann and Marty was part of the plan we devised to find each other somewhere in America via public phones. Unfortunately, they didn't answer.
Side note, our plan was this. We'd both call his parents from a payphone at a predetermined date and time and tell them the number stated on the public phone we were at. They would then relay the number and we can call each other at that phone booth. We would just need a lot of coins to pay for the call. It was as good a plan as any in those days.
I have been experiencing some strange feelings. I'm not sure what it is all about. It seems different than the other strange feelings I've experienced in the last couple of weeks. Wow, it's only been 2 weeks? I'm on Route 190 and headed for Route 1, which is a diagonal across Louisiana. One of my goals has been to learn about America, and I know very little of this state. Actually, I've lived in Louisiana for the past 10 months, but living and working in the French Quarter of New Orleans is not Louisiana, no more than the Bronx represents New York State. Of course, I have been experiencing some of Louisiana the last couple of weeks. It hasn't been especially stimulating, but I do appreciate learning the reality of Louisiana, aka the Pelican State. Looking at my Louisiana map, Route 1 seems right for me to get a good sample of Louisiana by walking on a state road through its small towns. So far, so good. So far, okay. Nothing great, nothing bad. Later, I called Ann and Marty again. Collect, as usual. I heard Mike accepting the phone charges. I was floored. Fortunately, the telephone cord was long as I could barely stand in the booth. My legs just gave out. What an unusual and unfamiliar feeling. It was an unpleasant sensation, to say the least. I don't have the words to describe it. My mind exploded and my body gave out. He was supposed to be in New Mexico. They were supposed to be in New Mexico. Or perhaps Colorado. Anywhere but in Brooklyn. Of course, my first thoughts were that something was wrong with Karen or Drake. I was just confused. That's the only word I could think of, but it really was way beyond confusion. My brain couldn't compute for a few seconds. They are all okay. There was no tragic reason they were home. Mike quickly began to explain that after only a few days, Drake's pads couldn't take the heat of the asphalt, nor, and especially, the pricking of the cactus needles on the sides of the roads. They took it easy. They tried not walking for a few days. They went to vets, and they finally had to extend resting in a mostly barren campground waiting for Drake to heal. They, like I, have discovered that dogs' pads are very tough, but they do not heal fast. They were stuck in the middle of New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere with literally nothing to do but wait. Nothing to do, no place to enjoy, no place to go. And it was hot. I know that feeling of helplessness and nothingness all too well. Actually, their issues were much worse than anything Dixie and I have suffered. The experience of walking across the country was not what they had trained or hoped for. They tried, but could only sit in the desert campground, doing nothing, for so long. They considered that even if she did heal, the same issue would pop up again. After a week or two, and after much deliberation, they hitched to a town and rented a car. This decision didn't come lightly, Mike told me. They decided to spend their time and money enjoying themselves in New Mexico and Colorado, and then fly home. Plans for them now include getting jobs, saving for an apartment, and probably marriage. But they'll be each living at their parents' homes for the time being. I don't know what to make of this. Their life has changed, and this is what it is for now. It isn't bad. They love each other dearly, and they will come up with new plans, a new adventure. That's who they are. They are smart. They'll focus on their future, not dwell on what didn't work in their past. My life has also just changed. Regardless of some bitterness I may have held for them in New Orleans as we were going our separate ways, there was never a doubt of my love for them, Their loss is a loss for me, too. You know, it's hard for me to imagine what they might be really feeling. Maybe they don't know yet either.
Side note: while editing this section, I considered that in today's world, Mike, Karen, and I would have cell phones. I would have known exactly what was going on throughout their whole experience. After we hung up, I was with Dixie only, and all I could do was focus on our reality. That was my only here and now option. The difference in keeping in touch with friends and family in 2024 compared to 1986 feels like the difference in keeping in touch with people in the old country when you emigrated from Europe or Asia to live in America in the 1880s.
Later, I know what I'm feeling. I'm feeling more alone. Even though we weren't together, I felt I wasn't alone because they too were going through similar experiences. They were, but much worse. Fortunately, Drake is okay. Now I am really on my own, physically and mentally. I have been wondering about my alternatives to walking across the country, and going home has been an option that crossed my mind. Now I can see what they do with their lives and see if that really is a viable alternative, if walking doesn't turn out to be something I want to continue, or if Dixie has the same fate as Drake. Later in the day. What would have been if Mike, Karen, and Drake did walk with me starting in New Orleans? Did the reality of cactus needles make all the difference? And there'd be no Dixie. It's not even worth thinking about. But it shows how a life can change so fast. All those months of thought, planning, and training were gone for them in days. Could the same thing happen to me? I just as easily could be on the side of the road with a crippled dog and no place to go. Would I go back to New York? Or back to New Orleans? Or get a ride to a new city? I spent today before the phone call in a strange mood. Perhaps it was a premonition. The unanswered phone call last night was due to Ann and Marty picking Mike, Karen, and Drake up at the airport. I spent the rest of the day behind a truck stop on some farmland. I have lost my desire to walk, at least for right now. Talking to Mike knocked the wind out of me. Tomorrow, I guess, I'll go on. Dixie and me, alone.
Until next time, peace.